What's up, guys? Ivan Carranza here, and welcome to Bass Tone Tuesday. Today, we're taking a look at using chorus on bass, and probably in a way that you were not really expecting. This is something that I've been experimenting with recently and actually used live during my previous tour with Dr. Krápula this year in March 2025 across Europe and many shows. And in general, let me say that I'm not a massive fan of chorus because in most cases, or let's say in the traditional way of using it, is very in your face. It's like, hey, I am using chorus, right? Kind of like in the Guns N' Roses Sweet Child O' Mine intro, which is an amazing intro, but you can clearly hear that there's a lot of chorus on that bass. And this applies not only to that song, but a lot of songs of the 80s which sound like this. However, after talking to several friends of mine who are mixing engineers and producers, and also after watching a video by Corey Wong, where he goes through the steps of mixing his song Call Me Wild, which I did a cover of, and I'm gonna put the link to the video in the description because it's a really interesting video. You can learn a lot from watching that mixing process. But what I got from that, and also from talking to my friends, is that it is actually pretty cool to blend in just a little bit of chorus, like just a little bit, to make the bass go from completely center in the mix to widen it just a little bit so that it has some movement, you know, left to right because of the chorus. Now I'm talking here about, 10% to maybe pushing it, 10 to 20%, and that's already in the upper end, maybe 10 to 15%. It also depends on the kind of chorus that you're using and, how heavy you're using the frequency and the rates, the hertz of the chorus effect. But like I said, in general, I'm talking about blending just the sound of the chorus very subtly beneath the main signal to give that extra movement to the bass. Now, to demonstrate this, I've recorded a track where I recorded the same performance. I've split my signal. One is with chorus, one is without chorus. And we're gonna listen to that both in the mix, and then I'm gonna A/B between both signals, and then I'm also gonna solo the bass. I'm gonna have A/B there as well, so you can listen to what the bass is actually doing and how that actually affects the overall mix. Like I said, this is a pretty subtle effect, so before you listen, please grab a pair of headphones or listen with good monitors or at least some speakers, because probably through a phone it's not gonna translate as well. So let's jump to the samples and then we're gonna talk a little bit about this. As you could hear, the effect is very, very subtle, right? If somebody didn't tell me, hey, there's a chorus there, probably I would not be able to catch it, especially with the bass set at proper mix levels and not really pushing it forward a bit, because it's pretty, subtle. It's just adding a little bit of extra to what the bass is doing. It's not like blatantly putting, hey, here's the chorus sound effect on top of it. It's more like subtle EQ moves that, maybe it's like half a dB there, 1 dB here, that really change the sound of the bass. This is the same principle, adding just a little bit of spices to your tone to make the overall mix sound better. Now, you can do this with any chorus pedal. I don't own a dedicated analog or digital chorus pedal that's on its own, so I used a multi-effects, this is Darkglass Anagram. But if you have an HX Stomp, if you have a Quad Cortex, if you have any multi-effects or dedicated chorus pedals, you probably can achieve the same result. But just blending just a hair of chorus, probably a good rule of thumb would be to boost it until you think is enough, and then pull back a little bit. Or boost it until you think, oh, I hear the chorus, and then touch it down a notch so that it's very, very subtle. But like I said, it takes the bass from being dead center in the mix to widening up just a bit so that it covers a bit more sonic ground and makes the bass sit in a mix in a different way, which is pretty interesting. So maybe this is something, like I said, worth experimenting with. If you do, please let me know in the comment section if you have played with chorus before or if you're interested in doing so. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.